Imagine a world where we can edit our very essence before birth. Not just, treating illness, but truly deciding traits, perhaps even improving humanity as we understand it. It sounds like the stuff for the most thrilling science fiction, doesn't it? But for some, back in 2018, this became a terrifying, unprecedented reality. You're joining us for a deep dive into a powerful book that forces us to confront this very future. We're talking about CRISPR People, The Science and Ethics of Editing Humans by the eminent legal scholar and ethicist Henry T. Greely, published in 2021. This isn't just a science book. It's a gripping narrative and a profound ethical exploration sparked by an event that sent shockwaves across the globe. Our mission today is to unpack the science, the controversy, and the enduring questions about what it truly means to be human when we can literally rewrite our genetic code. And as we navigate these complex waters, you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis. Okay, let's unpack this. The entire book pivots around one explosive announcement in November 2018, the birth of twin girls, Lulu and Nana, in China, whose embryos were genetically edited to resist HIV. It was a moment that redefined the boundaries of science and ethics almost overnight.
It really was. And what's fascinating here is how Greely uses He Jiankui's actions as his central point of departure. This wasn't just some quiet scientific breakthrough announced in a peer-reviewed journal, It was a public declaration of a monumental deed. Greely argues this act was simultaneously revolutionary, reckless, and deeply ethically fraught.
Fraught, yes.
It wasn't just about editing human DNA, but heritable human DNA. Crossing a line the global scientific community had largely agreed upon as off-limits. This forced an immediate global reckoning about human gene editing and, our collective future.
That distinction is absolutely critical. So for those of us who've been following the science but maybe aren't geneticists, Greely offers a very accessible yet profound explanation of CRISPR-Cas9 technology. Can you break down what makes this molecular scissors technology so uniquely powerful and why it's used by He Jiankui with such a pivotal moment, especially given that distinction between somatic and germline editing?
Absolutely. Greely makes it abundantly clear. CRISPR-Cas9 is a truly revolutionary gene editing tool. Think of it, as he describes, like an incredibly precise molecular word processor for DNA. It lets scientists go into the genetic code, find a specific sequence, cut it out, and then either delete it or maybe even insert new genetic material.
Right.
The precision and, frankly, the relative ease of use compared to earlier technologies is what makes it such a game changer. But the critical distinction, and the one Greely really hammers home, is between somatic gene editing and germline gene editing.
Okay.
Somatic editing applies changes to non-reproductive cells. These changes affect only the individual treated, and they are not passed down to their children. This is the realm of gene therapies designed to treat existing diseases in a person, like, say, correcting a faulty gene in an adult's liver cells. It's a medical intervention for an individual.
Got it.
However, what He Jiankui did was germline editing. This involves altering the DNA in embryos, sperm, or egg cells. The profound difference here is that these changes are heritable. They become a permanent part of the human gene pool, passed down to future generations, potentially forever.
Wow.
Greely emphasizes that this is the true game changer because it confronts us with the unprecedented power to direct human evolution. It raises these huge questions about what it means to be human and who gets to decide that definition for future generations.
That's why the reckless part of Greely's assessment resonates so deeply. The book meticulously details the narrative arc of He Jiankui himself. He was a Chinese scientist who received significant education in the U.S., including a postdoc at Stanford. Greely paints a picture of a brilliant, ambitious individual, perhaps driven by a desire to be first, to make a monumental mark. He secretly undertook this project, circumventing established scientific review processes, flouting global scientific consensus, and effectively going rogue from the broader ethics community. The book traces his motivations, though, as you said, precise motivations are always a matter of speculation, but also the immediate and severe fallout. Greely doesn't shy away from the idea that he saw himself as a pioneer, maybe even a hero, trying to prevent HIV transmission. But you mentioned the condemnation was swift. Does Greely explore any mitigating circumstances or the less discussed pressures He Jiankui might have been under, even if he ultimately condemns his actions?
Well, Greely certainly presents the context surrounding He Jiankui that includes the intense scientific competition, the pressures to achieve breakthroughs in China, and perhaps a genuine, if utterly misguided belief that he was doing good by preventing a serious disease. He Jiankui reportedly claimed to be operating within certain ethical guidelines and that the parents consented, though Greely meticulously dissects and largely discredits these claims. But Greeley's focus isn't really on excusing He, but on understanding the profound implications of his actions and the system that allowed them to occur. The condemnation from scientific bodies was indeed swift. Global outrage erupted, and he faced a public trial and subsequent imprisonment. There's a stark warning about unchecked ambition and the dangers of disregarding global scientific consensus. Greely uses He's story to illustrate how easily a single individual's choices can trigger a global ethical crisis.
And what truly ignites Greely's narrative is that immediate global fallout from He Jiankui's announcement. The book meticulously details the reaction, both within China and internationally. The condemnation wasn't just widespread, it was nearly universal, from scientific bodies like the U.S. National Academies, the WHO, countless bioethics committees. Greely captures the palpable sense of shock and alarm. This incident forced urgent, often chaotic conversations at global summits. Ethicists, scientists, politicians, all weighing in sort of on the fly. You mentioned Greely points out the profound initial lack of global consensus on germline editing, which complicated everything. What was the core debate that crystallized instantly? And what were some of the different approaches or, anxieties that emerged from that lack of consensus?
That's where the story gets incredibly complex, and Greely excels at capturing this global scramble. The core debate instantly crystallized around fundamental questions. How do we regulate this? What kind of oversight is needed, especially for something affecting future generations? And maybe most critically, what is the true acceptability of germline editing?
Yeah, the big questions.
Exactly. Some argued for an outright moratorium, a complete halt to let ethics catch up with science. Others suggested carefully controlled clinical trials for severe, life-threatening genetic diseases, but only with robust oversight and international agreement.
A more cautious approach.
Right. And the anxieties were diverse. Fear of a slippery slope towards designer babies, concerns about exacerbating social inequalities, worries about unintended biological consequences. Because there was no international treaty or clear global framework for germline editing, different countries had different laws, or no laws at all. This led to a patchwork legality that Greely warns is a significant risk for the future.
That makes sense.
This incident was a stark reminder that while science progresses globally, ethical and regulatory frameworks often lag behind, creating dangerous gaps.
And Greely doesn't shy away from the scientific details either, which is crucial for understanding the real risks involved, beyond just the ethical ones. He goes beyond the headlines to explain the biological intricacies that make germline editing so challenging and, potentially dangerous. What are some of the technical hurdles and safety concerns, particularly regarding those off-target mutations that Greely highlights?
Right. Greely delves into the crucial technical challenges, particularly preventing unintended off-target mutations. Imagine those molecular scissors again. While they're incredibly precise, they can sometimes cut in unintended locations in the genome.
Ah, okay.
These off-target edits can have unpredictable and potentially dangerous consequences for the individuals involved. They could lead to unforeseen health issues, maybe even cancer down the line. Greely emphasizes that at the time He Jiankui conducted his experiment, the technology was simply not mature or safe enough for human germline application.
Not ready for prime time, essentially.
Exactly. The risks far outweighed any potential benefits, especially for a condition like HIV resistance, which, let's be honest, can be managed by other means. This isn't just about playing God, it's about the very real, measurable biological risks of a still developing technology.
This raises an important question that Greely systematically addresses. What does this all mean for humanity? He delves into deep and recurring ethical concerns that go far beyond just Lulu and Nana. First, there's the concept of consent for future generations. Greely forces us to confront this profound philosophical dilemma. How can someone possibly consent to changes made before their birth? Changes that could affect their entire life, maybe even their children's lives.
It's a huge question.
It really is. It's not just legal. It's about the very autonomy of an individual who doesn't yet exist. Then there's the question of who decides if gene editing is allowed, and for what purposes. Is it scientists in their labs, national governments, or society at large through some broader democratic process?
Who gets to make the call?
Exactly. Greely explores the specter of social inequalities. Will CRISPR only benefit the wealthy, amplifying existing divides, or maybe introducing new forms of discrimination? Creating a kind of genetic elite, The potential for designer babies isn't just sci-fi anymore. Greely shows how it's a very real concern, blurring the lines between treating disease and, quote, enhancing human traits.
That line is very blurry.
And finally, Greely calls critical attention to the vulnerability of the families involved in He Jiankui's experiment. He dissects the quality of informed consent they actually received, given the secrecy and his motivations. It seems clear that the consent was deeply compromised.
Yeah, the informed consent part is particularly troubling in this case. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Greely's analysis brings out these pressing philosophical issues that really transcend biology. This technology forces us to grapple with the very definition of personhood. What does it mean to make or improve a human? How do we ensure justice and equity and access to such powerful technologies? Prevent a future where genetic advantages are only for the privileged few. Greely challenges us to think beyond individual medical cases to the societal implications of altering the human germline. It's at this point that Greely also draws on powerful historical analogies to past eugenics movements. Now, he meticulously points out important differences.
And it's crucial.
Right. Modern gene editing often aims to treat or prevent specific diseases, not enforce state-mandated breeding programs or eliminate undesirables like in the darkest chapters of eugenics. But he perceives echoes. What do you think is his most crucial lesson from history here, even with those distinctions?
That's a powerful question, and Greely's distinction is vital. He's not saying we're reliving the past, but that the underlying impulse maybe to improve humanity, to eliminate perceived flaws, can be dangerous if it's not constrained by robust ethical reflection and societal consensus. His most crucial lesson for me is the need for profound caution. Caution against any movement that seeks to define what an ideal human should be, especially when combined with powerful new tools like gene editing. He reminds us that even well-intentioned scientific advancements can lead to horrific outcomes if they aren't grounded in broad ethical principles and democratic oversight. The parallels serve as a powerful cautionary tale about that slippery slope, the dangers of unchecked power. It really reminds us why strong ethical guardrails are just so critical. And it's worth taking a moment here to mention that you can find more in-depth analyses like this one, designed to inspire reflection and rational thought, on our YouTube channel. Just search for Mindful Moments to dive deeper into challenging topics and thought-provoking discussions about significant books and ideas.
That's a good point. And the book itself, it doesn't end with He Jiankui's imprisonment. As Greely concludes, the story continues, and its legacy is still unfolding. We've seen swift regulatory activity following the incident, with many countries enacting or strengthening prohibitions on germline editing.
Right, some action was taken.
Definitely. However, there's still persistent philosophical uncertainty, and there's also the very real risk of what some call CRISPR tourism. Individuals seeking gene editing in countries with lax regulations. This creates a patchwork legality due to the ongoing lack of global consensus. It's a deeply concerning loophole.
Exactly. Greely is clear that the scientific work continues, of course, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in gene editing. But the story of Lulu and Nana means we must confront the very real question of if and how similar experiments might occur elsewhere in the world, and with what consequences for society. It's not a matter of if the technology exists anymore, but how we choose to wield it. The book leaves you with this chilling realization that the future of human genetic alteration isn't just hypothetical. It's actively being shaped right now by scientific progress and ethical debate.
It really makes you think.
It absolutely does. It makes you ponder the future of our species and the responsibilities we bear.
And this book, CRISPR People, it's really destined to stand as a key reference in bioethics and science communication regarding the age of human genome editing. Greely's balanced, thorough, and fair-minded approach has been widely praised. It clarifies both the science and the ethics for non-specialists like you. It's truly a foundational text for anyone trying to understand this complex intersection. It provides not just the facts, but the crucial frameworks for how we ought to think about them.
So what does this all mean for us? CRISPR People serves as a critical touchstone for anyone wrestling with technology's immense promise and its profound peril. As we gain the power to reshape life itself, perhaps the most critical question isn't just what we can do, but what we should do, and who gets to decide that for all of us. And for more insightful discussions and analyses of vital books, be sure to check out our other podcasts and our Mindful Moments YouTube channel. For a deeper dive into this vital topic, click the link on screen for the in-depth book summary. Subscribe. Share this discussion with others. Consider purchasing this crucial book via the link, and most importantly, keep thinking critically about these complex issues.